Good afternoon. This is Jennifer Wilson here with Leadership Lunch Chat, and I am here with my good friend Amy Vetter. And hey, Amy, I'm so glad to be back with you. I don't know when we were together last.
I know. I was trying to think that this morning.
I know. Amy and I are going to have to assess Fridays, I think, as we go into next year, although that's been our place for, I think we're finishing the 5th year and about to start our 6th lap of this Leadership Lunch Chat. But anyway, we were starting a discussion this morning, and we were both sort of like, hey, we need to recenter and shift our own mindsets. Sometimes in reality, when you're at your peak period and you're facing down a holiday that has usually some amount of work attached to it, cooking and hosting and all of those things. Anyway, sometimes it can get you off center. And Amy and I both came to this call today. We were both the tiniest bit grouchy or grumpy or cynical, or I don't know whatever it was. We both had this problem. And so, but we also had the idea that we wanted to talk about gratitude because it's the season for gratitude. Secretly, our selfish interest is we need a gratitude practice in order to get us off this sort of grumpy place that we are right now. So anyway, that's the theory behind today's discussion. And so, maybe Amy, you could start wherever you want, but you might want to start with just how and what we use gratitude practices for, because in 6 years we've done some and we've certainly advocated it. But then also maybe start with wherever you want to start with gratitude for yourself.
Yeah. So this year I actually made an effort around the gratitude practice. It was like my mom died a little over a year ago, and I was in a lot of grief, but still had to keep moving. And probably like this summer, well, I think so, because it's like now it's telling me it's 135 days I've been doing it. So, but I decided to download an app that would just remind me to look for the good in the morning and the evening each day, and then how you're going to set up your day. And it's been hugely helpful. It's one of those things that seems so simple and would take so much effort. And there's a lot of great apps out there. This one particularly I like because it prompts you questions. Had you set a mantra for the day? And it's truly the power of your mindset, because if you let your mind just go, it is going to go toward sadness or toward negativity. That's just our human nature. And it really does have to be a practice of like, what am I grateful for? Even if it's simple, like, today I'm in Florida, the sun's out. Like, it doesn't have to be a huge thing, but it just having that reminder has definitely, I think, helped my perspective so much since I started doing it this year. We all can feel like we show up positively, but you really have to put the habit in place to train your mind to look for positivity. And, if there's anything, a time of year that reminds us to do that, it's Thanksgiving. It's all about gratitude for what we have and what we've been through. And I think it's important now more than ever, especially, the way the world is right now and just so much chaos, that you do look for the good and not focus so much on what you can't control versus what you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's awesome. I think we know we're supposed to be doing this. I think most of us that might be listening to this or talking about it. It's one of those, I know it, but am I doing it? And then when you feel off track, or when you're angry or upset or disappointed or sad, stopping and sort of doing a quick inventory of things you have to be grateful for does shift you to the positive. And we also know that as leaders of organizations, it isn't always butterflies and sunshine and rainbows. And there's hard stuff in our lives and in our work. And sometimes we have to have difficult conversations, or we have to address a lack of performance or whatever it is. And centering on hopeful interpretation, centering on positivity, really important. And gratitude is one of those ways to do it. So I'll start a little bit. I'm grateful for you, Amy. I'm grateful for processing things like this with you, both live and in real life, not on camera. I love that. And I'm super grateful that we have been processing leadership issues almost 6 years, and how fast that's flown. I'm grateful for my health. I have to start there. I've had a client and good friend pass within the last week or so, and had their funeral arrangements this week, which I could not attend, but I've been really praying for his family. And he was only 45, and just a bright light in the public accounting community, and just a wonderful guy. And it's unbelievable that he's gone, and how fast it went, and just how lucky I am that I have my health, and that I am not facing that, not only for myself, but for my immediate family. I've been thinking about his wife. And anyway, that is a real sobering moment of, grief and sadness, but also real important step back and say, wow, I don't have any problems. I don't have any issues. You know what I mean? Like, the magnitude of the stuff sometimes we get upset about is so minute. And you think about that family and what they're going through in the firm, and just everybody touched by him. And then you're like, I don't have any problems. I'm so grateful I'm healthy. I'm grateful for the health of my family.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for us doing this as well, and the friendship we've created over all these years. And I'm definitely grateful for the work that we get to do. It is something that, when you're deciding to do something like this with your life, I don't think you can picture what it takes, or and the uptake of people wanting to hire you for the things that you can offer. And I'm just very grateful for the life, that the expertise that I've created, and being able to network with so many different consultants as well, in this profession, where we're kind of better together, versus individuals. And, because it can be lonely in business. So it helps to not be with this, but also all the clients and firms that have become friends as well, that I'm so appreciative for.
Me too. One of the best parts about the work is that I, mostly, not always, but mostly come to love everybody that I work with. I'm serious. I love them. And I love, they're all different. And we have some similarities culturally in our profession, but there's so many differences between us as well. And I love those differences. I have enormous laughter with my clients and my coworkers. I laughed like crazy on a coaching call last night with a young man. We were on a roll, and maybe it's late in the day kind of coaching. We were having such fun and laughing so much. And I said, when I hung up, I was like, I think we made progress, but I know my spirit is better from this call. Like you have contributed to my well-being, and my spirit is lighter because of all this laughing we did today. And so I just, at the end of September, we gathered 19 firms and 29 leaders to talk about what it takes to remain independent. And the people that were in that room, it was a very carefully curated room of people that we thought could all really learn from each other and benefit from each other. As I looked out at the faces in that room, I love every single one of those people, and I've loved them a long time. And I admire them and respect them, and I learn from them. And man, what luck, what luck to have a career that's what you get. And, some people have careers where it's real transient, like I meet you once and I never see you again and things like that. And that happens sometimes in what the work you and I do. But a lot of the relationships are lasting and they're deep and rich, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm very grateful that I'll be able to spend the next 6 weeks with my kids. So, this is always a good time of year for us empty nesters when they come home from college, and you get them. So I like savor every moment. It means so much to me to be with them and share their life. I think it's such a struggle. Like empty nesting is one of those things that you're not prepared for, of how it is truly a grieving process of that change in your life. But it's also, again, coming back to mindset of how you flip your mindset of what life looks like, with kids not home, and what the relationships look like. And I'm so proud of my children, besides the humans that they are and how much I love them, they're friends as well.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to be with them.
That's awesome. Yes, I get to see my oldest that is gone from the nest and gone from the state. Soon she'll be here, but I live with the other two. They're adults who have come back and are finishing up things or pursuing certain options. And I'm super proud of all three of them. And the two that live here are like super best girlfriends. And that's going to be hard when they're ready to go. But it'll be also great and gratifying for them. I care for my dad, and and I'm super grateful. He had a stroke in May and then fell and broke his arm, and it was really awful, terrible, honestly, spring, summer with that. I'm wondering what sort of life he was going to have after that. And he has recovered so well. There's so much of his capacity. His arm's healed, so he's right-handed and he got his right arm back. That's nice. But also his brain's been healing, and it's been really fantastic to see that recovery. And he's a pleasure, and I get to hang out with him a lot. And so I'm grateful for him and for the days that I have with him, however many they're going to be. I'm just that's a blessing. And not at my age to have my dad, who's 95. That's awesome. I'm super grateful for my husband while I talk about my dad, because he supports the holy heck out of me in that caregiving, and is also active, does his part there, and is also best friends with my dad and was with my mom. And so but I'm also just grateful because he supports me, my husband Brian, in really anything, and has for the whole time, for decades and decades. And and hardly anybody gets that kind of bestie, member of my crew in my run of life, my long run of life. He was my chief crew, the crew chief, making sure that I have the supplies I need on the run, whatever it is, figuratively speaking, and sometimes in real life when I'm running. He's just amazing. So I'm super grateful for Brett. Yeah, I know. I mean, yes, he is. God really loves me because he gave me Brian. Pure proof.
Yeah, and that's so nice. How long have you been married?
37 years, and we've been together 42.
Yeah,
so since I graduated high school. So
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and I think these practices are so important, so we don't lose sight of what is important in life. I think it's easy during these busy times to just completely lose sight of what's important. And especially when you talk about someone passing away, I've been reading all this research and articles about, when people are dying, what is it that they regret, or
Oh,
that really mattered the most. And I think it's so important that we don't lose sight of that. Um, Nothing is more important than your health, your people around you that love and support you, and that you are making time to give back to that. And even when there's frustrations, how can you be present in the moment? How do you make space to get still? Because these times of years can be hard as well, and stressful. So, what do you do to be able to maintain or bring yourself into equilibrium and balance everything during this time?
yeah. Let me know when you figure that out. I was just thinking, you were just saying, like, when people are dying, what do they regret? I've been paying a lot of attention. There's a woman named Mary McBain. She owned her own ERP practice forever and ever, and then was the Kansas Society of CPA CEO for a number of years. She's a super bright leader. And Mary, she she gave a speech once, AICPA Tech Conference. I think it was a lunch speech about writing your own obituary. And
Mhm.
what would you put in it? And it was a really profound conversation that she held with that audience, and I was in the audience holding it with her. And I've been, unfortunately, there's been a lot of death. I guess as you get older, that's normal. And so I've been reading a lot of obituaries, a lot of contemporaries, parents' obituaries, and then colleagues who are passing. Rick Richardson
Mhm.
passed. One of the brightest minds in our profession related to technology and adoption and change. Anyway, I've been reading these obituaries, and there's very little often written about their work.
Mhm.
And that was Mary's point when she gave the speech. She was like, hey, man, are you living for work here? Because in reality, that's not necessarily all there is. And when I was in my 20s, my mother was worried. I was working 7 days a week at a high tech company, and kind of chained to the job. It was all in person, of course, back then, and I wasn't spending that much time with my husband, and we were relative newlyweds at the time, and she was worried about my balance, my centering, my priorities, and she told me, your job is a movie,
Mhm.
and if it's a job, it's a movie, and you go into it and you work it for a while, and then you leave the movie. If it's your career, you're still leaving it. There's a moment when they say, you're finished now, goodbye. And you leave the movie, and you better have some place to go, Jen. And so for my career, at times when I have gotten too close to it or too sad about it, scared about it, I try to remember my mother saying, just remember your career, it's only a movie. Like it is a component, but it's not the real stuff, which is out there with your family and your friends and yourself, with
Mhm.
yourself too.
Yeah.
And that was so huge for me. And sometimes I lose sight of it, and then I drag myself back. And I remember I hear her or I hear Mary. But I mean, I read some of these obituaries in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks of my friends, and hardly a mention of work.
Yeah. Well, and I think it just reminds me of something that came up this week, at an event I was doing. But uh, when we were talking about like how to get back to yourself and make time for yourself, someone had said, well, I'll get up 30 minutes earlier and I'll do all these things. And I responded, what about just doing nothing? What would that feel like for 30 minutes to read or to just sit still, or when you're saying like getting back to yourself, these are the things of, throughout our day, we're rushing from thing to thing and maybe not paying attention to what's happening around us or just happening, period. And by the end of the day, we're like not even sure what we did versus like learning how to observe, learning how to just be still and not be busy. And I know I struggle with that too. But it is an option is to do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And to hear the birds, you know,
Yeah.
to sit on your back porch or deck and drink coffee and hear the birds, you know, to um, yeah, you're right. You know, it is an option. And I think that's a different option. Maybe you would qualify this as doing nothing, but I don't think it involves the phone and doom scrolling,
Right.
you know, or any of that business, right? I don't think that's what we're talking about here in the do nothing realm. And read is like probably paper and not work, by the way, not read work. You know, I think that all takes discipline. You
Yeah.
know, intention maybe is a better word. Discipline sounds too hard, but intention and also a little forgiveness. You know, I've shared this with you before, Amy, but one of my number one talent or gift on the Strengths Finder is achiever, and achiever is a terrible one to have because achiever thinks all the time, minute by minute, like, what are you doing? What have you achieved? What have you finished? What's complete? What's done? What's next? And so any of us that have that, and achiever is just one of many personality types, perhaps, that drive us. We're all driven. Many of us are driven. And that means you have to say, hey, I'm giving you the space to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to do nothing. That's an achievement. We can, yeah, write it on the list. Do nothing, and then scratch it off if you have to after you've done nothing,
Yeah.
and make it be just as important as all the other stuff you feel like you owe people or owe somebody. I don't know. So I think
You
that's
show up better for yourself. When you take time for yourself, you show up better for the people around you. So yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's
Well, thank
awesome.
you so much. It was good to connect, and hopefully everyone got something out of this that they can apply in their life over this holiday. And we're grateful for you that we've been running this long and having you listen. And we look forward to coming back in a couple weeks because you're off next week.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yep.
Yep.
So we'll be back together in 2 weeks. See you all then. Thanks, Amy.